2, 1, and now.
Hi. Hello again and again because AC just told me that we didn't have audio for the first 5 minutes of this talk, and our apologies. And for those of you who hung in there, thank you. Um, so I'll just start. This week, I want to share with you some of my thoughts behind A Worthy Christmas, the novella we're preparing for you for this holiday season. And the way that I see holiday novellas, for me, they're sort of outside the timeline of the Walkerville Desire series. They give me a chance to spend, to give you some experience, some ideas of who some of these regulars are who show up on a regular basis and who've never had their own stories because they've never demanded them the way that Martha Janine or other people have. And so we get a chance to step outside the regular sort of arc or narrative or story, and and delve a little bit deeper into other human experiences beyond love and romance that makes up these romance stories, right? It makes up who we are. A Worthy Christmas explores some of the complicated dynamics that occur outside the public face of Worthy's restaurant. It's, Worthy's is a beloved touchstone for everyone in Walkerville. And I know that probably a lot of you have those memories of, before you leave the house, your mom or your dad or somebody in the family admonishes you to, like, don't tell, the world, what just went on in the family. It's like arguments between parents of, finances, the, fight between mom, brother and father, that sort of stuff, right? There's little kind of family secrets that we don't tell the world. We're still in the editing process with this story, so I'm not going to be doing a reading for you today. What I want to talk to you about is some dynamics in the family relationships and some of what I've observed over the years in both my professional and personal life. So we begin. The other morning, with some fresh lemon bars I baked the night before, AC and I had coffee with a few friends. We hadn't seen Helen since well before COVID turned our world upside down. She's an intelligent, funny, beautiful woman in her late 80s. And she spent a couple of days with her daughter, my 60-something friend, who is always attentive and loving towards her mother. During the middle of our visit, I watched that parent-child relationship that is ingrained and alive in all of us, no matter how old we are. I saw my friend instantly turn into a chided 12-year-old girl. A silent suggestion passed between the two of them about a gift of flowers another guest had brought. My friend jumped up and fetched a vase to place the flowers. Apparently, Helen felt the flower gift could not go without fresh water for another minute, and her daughter picked up on that. After the task was completed, I saw a quick look of contriteness from my friend to her mother, and from her mother to her daughter, a smile of loving appreciation. What occurred between them was open. It wasn't fraught with anxiety. It was an exchange that was understood and acknowledged by mother and child. It was unexplicit, unambiguous communication between family members. All is well in their relationship. This year's Christmas novel, A Worthy Christmas, we learn more about the dynamics between Cora Worthy and her 4 children. The children diligently worked at the restaurant from adolescence through their teenage years. They were expected to work one weekend and several afternoon shifts. The unspoken, unchallenged, and complimentary pact between Cora and her 4 children was unmitigated financial support to a 4-year college of her choice. But in reality, what Cora wanted was for one or all of her children to claim Worthies as their birthright, thus validating to an uncompromising Cora that she had built a legacy for her children that the rest of the world, and especially all of Walkerville, could see and think of her as a capable, forward-thinking parent. Because one or all of her children chose to stay with her, chose to stay in Walkerville and carry on that legacy. That was her fantasy. And as the poet Robert Burns states in To a Mouse, the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. And what he really says is this: the best laid schemes o' mice and men gang aft ag lee, and lee us naught but grief and pain for promised joy. And for Cora, whose promised joy? Certainly not for any of her 4 children, because they couldn't wait to leave the restaurant, which meant leaving Walkerville and friends. Daughter Vivian met a New Zealand cattle rancher and married him after a 3-week courtship. Son Gus, a week after college graduation, married his 30-year-older American history professor, finding satisfaction as a house husband. And Noel, the baby, spends his time exploring ecological frontiers beneath the continental shelf. And there's Gib, Cora's oldest child, unabashedly her favorite child, the one who breaks his mother's heart. Her younger 3 have stayed in touch, however sporadically, Christmas and holidays. Gib hasn't been in touch in over a decade. Cora has thought of hiring a private investigator, a Kinsey Malone type, to track him down. And sometimes she wakes herself up in the middle of the night drenched in terror. Is he dead? And she consoles herself that in her mother's heart she would know that truth. So I met Cora as a woman, as a businesswoman. You know, that's the way she's presented herself to me. She's smart, she's unperturbed, she's ambitious, she's farsighted. But as a parent, she's less clear to me. And I only see her as a parent through her kids in the restaurant, and especially soon after Harvey died. I only grasped her maternal presence through her 4 kids, and especially Gib and Vivian. And maybe because they're the oldest 2, they have sharper recollections of Cora as a parent. A few days before he left for college, Gib remarked to his sister that instead of feelings, he pictured Cora with a leaderboard in her heart, keeping score and tabs on everyone, her kids, her customers, her suppliers, her employees. She always kept track, and her power was in her knowing other people knew that she knew. Clearly, Cora's world is largely transactional. And Cora would be distressed to know her favorite child felt this way about her. She worries about him, and she doesn't worry about the others. They are taken care of, or taking care of. She knew Gib had his secrets, and she wished she could let him know she knew. And meanwhile, Gib is subsisting at the Fontaine Ranch, less than half an hour's drive from Jerrymead, Montana, where he was born. His life is mainly spent outdoors. He takes on the ranch jobs that require sleeping under the stars alone for weeks at a time, managing cattle, making note of their hidey holes during the winter and their water holes in the summer. He had many years' worth of notebooks filled with counts, sketches of locations, logs of births and deaths, and he kept a running tally of the cattle several times during the year. He had no idea this chronicling was much like his mother's mental leaderboard. Gib periodically felt guilt about his half-life. He wasn't engaged in his world except on a physical level with work and consensual casual sex a few times a month. His critical thinking skills consisted in getting through the day, the week, the month, the year. His mother would be surprised to know the state of his finances, the state of his heart, the state of his emotions. He is complicated and he is discreet. There's a part of him that really wants to reconnect with his mother, even if it means she would keep score. And a worthy Christmas is about Gib's decision to reconnect with Cora. So, thanks. Like I said earlier, these are not paragraphs that I wrote in the novel, in the novella, A Worthy Christmas. I may do some readings for you next week, but I'm not sure. I just want to give you a sense of what's going on behind the scenes in the novella and what prompted the story. And right now, there's a lot of metaphorical balls in my writer's ear just now. We're working diligently to complete A Worthy Christmas for you. The next novel of the Walkerville Desire series is in the pipeline, and we've begun the tuning process on that. And I'll share more about that with you in the weeks ahead. And over the last few days, there's something taking shape in my heart and my head late at night. It's not a Walkerville Desire story. It's probably a freestanding novel, but it's too soon to say and far too soon to talk about. I've been spending the last few nights fleshing out the Bible, and I'll talk about what a Bible is in writing terms later on down the line. So it gets busy in my little office up here in the middle of the night. Before I sign off, I want to ask you a favor. If you know someone you think would enjoy these chats, won't you please share my YouTube link with them? Writing is a most solitary endeavor, even though my room gets filled with characters. And I see these chats as a potential way for us to make a more personal connection. Of course, new readers are always welcome. There's a link to my Amazon page below this video. And don't forget, I'll be back next Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock California time. See you there. And for now, thanks for joining me. And speaking of stuff below this video, the usual, YouTube counts everything, so it means a lot if you give us a thumbs up, and it's really helpful if you subscribe to my channel by clicking that big red button. And do check the link to my Amazon page to see all my work which has been published so far. If you have any questions or comments, there's links to my Facebook and Instagram and my email address. Remember, AC is archiving all these chats. Check the playlist on my YouTube page. Plus, the direct link for next Wednesday afternoon's get-together is there also. Thank you for joining me, and have a great rest of the week.